So I have a question for you, and this is one that you get all the time, and I'm sure you're sick of it, and I almost feel a little sheepish asking, but can you tell us what is Yahoo?
I can. I mean, maybe it's taken me 2 years, but I got it.
Awesome.
You know, it has interested me. This question has interested me because I think Yahoo is actually a very simple story. Technical company, innovative, largest media, content, and communications company in the world. Content, communications, media, technology, innovation. That's Yahoo.
When you started at Yahoo, was Yahoo that, from your point of view? And do you think that everyone understands when you say that, what exactly that means?
I think Yahoo has, frankly, always been that. It was better at times than other times, but I think Yahoo's always stood for those words. If you think of the now almost 16 years, you have to talk about innovation. You have to talk about technology, the great technology we have that allows our science to really personalize the web. You have to talk about media if you talk about Yahoo, and you have to talk about communications, mail, messenger, Flickr, and content. That's what we are. So that's what Yahoo's always been. I think it went off track a little bit when people thought it was a search company. So.
Well, you solved that, I guess, in terms of...
No,
I didn't mean to get a laugh out of that, but we'll take it.
No, thank you. I solved it because search is half of our business, and now we can do it very well.
And by that, you mean search is a hard problem, and it takes a lot of resources.
Search is a hard problem. It's a big capital expenditure problem. I mean, it's an arms race from that standpoint. And then the two sides of it. You know, Algo has its own set of issues to stay relevant, to figure out how many times, you know, how deep you're going to crawl, how often you're going to crawl, the languages. And then on the paid side, you're really in a constant battle to increase RPS and to get better math in there, better forecasting, better inventory, big science problems. So we're still doing a lot of that, by the way, because we're working on the front end. But really aligning with Microsoft with their huge pile of resources.
Right.
So they can spend the CapEx, and we can work on the technology that the users see, I think has really been a win for us.
Now, I think one of the things that you deal with as the, face of Yahoo now, is perhaps the almost wistful sensibility that perhaps this audience shares with me of what we thought Yahoo was, that maybe we think it isn't now, which is pretty much like the coolest kid on the internet block. You know, Yahoo was that place where you first fell in love with the internet in the mid to late 90s. You think we can get past that, and what is, compared to that view of Yahoo, how do you compare what Yahoo is now to that?
I actually think Yahoo stands for a lot. It stands for fun. I mean, I personally believe, I'll tell you a story. I'm not sure I've ever told anybody. It's not that secret, but I was actually being interviewed on CNBC when the day Yahoo went public. I'll never forget this because the interviewer said to me, this kind of nasty woman.
I'm sure you've never encountered any nasty interviewers.
No. And she said to me, "What do you think of that company with that funny name?" I'll never forget that. And are they, I don't remember what they opened at or what they closed at, but it was a pretty big number, I think. And
it was a success.
I said, Yahoo for them. And I thought of that when I joined Yahoo. I thought somehow this was meant to be, because I was there sort of supporting them when the East Coast was going, who are these people and what's going on? But to the spirit of your question, listen, Yahoo has stood for a lot on the internet. It has stood for fun. It has stood for relevance. It has stood for helping people put some context around the information they're finding, and it still does. Now, has it had a couple rough years? Sure. But you know, I don't think you're really tested as a person or as a company unless you've had some tough times. It's easy when la 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 is happening. But companies get really tough and pick themselves up when they face some challenges, and that's what Yahoo's doing.
So give us a sense of what the vision is for the future. Like, how is, you know, you have 600 million people who run through Yahoo domains at some point or another in a given month. It's a lot of people. But many of them come just for mail or just for your content.
Just for our content? I hope so. Just for mail? I hope so.
Well, right, but I mean, in other words, I'm not sure that they're coming for Yahoo. They're coming because that's where their mail is or because they're used to reading Yahoo Finance, right? Is there a vision for how, and by the way, they're spending a lot of time on what you might call the rest of the web, including parts of the web that are, you know, independent of these large sort of domain-centric places, Yahoo, AOL, MSN, Facebook.
Right.
What's the vision for how Yahoo is relevant to those consumers when they're not necessarily on the Yahoo domain?
Well, first of all, I believe when people come to Yahoo, they know very well they're coming to Yahoo and they know why. It's been a trusted friend, a trusted environment for them. It's been a place where they always knew they could get great content, and whether it's sports content, finance content, finding out what's going on today, entertainment, what have you. As you know, we're number one in most all those categories, so they do know they're coming to Yahoo. It's our job to bring them more and more relevant information. What do I mean by that? First of all, I think Yahoo pages stayed static way too long. They need to have an interactivity. They needed commenting and blogging and rating and ranking and all those things that you have when people in sort of the Web 2.0 sphere want to interact. So they want to interact with each other. They want to interact with people they don't know, do know. And so Yahoo stayed static too long. So one of the things, you know, sort of number one is to get back in this game of very interactive, very interesting information, content for them, so they have a great experience. And that actually takes me to the second point, which is that experience through our science and technology needs to be very personalized for them. And now what do I mean by that? Well, first of all, when screens get small, no matter what size the screens are, you can't waste a pixel. You have to serve people information that they find interesting, educational, amusing, entertaining, what have you. To do that, you have to really understand what they've been doing, obviously in a very private way, but you have to then be able to make some decisions and serve up for them not only different articles, but obviously different ads, different placement on the page, so real intense personalization, so it's very special. Right now, for instance, we serve about 6 million different front pages a day. You don't know it because you're looking at yours.
In other words, 6 million different combinations of front pages based on cohorts.
On a user's...
this kind of a user probably wants to see this kind of a page based on data, which is something that we discussed yesterday.
On data, on machine learning, on some editorial help, because for instance, if there's a breaking story, oil spill, nobody is going to necessarily register that they're interested in oil spills. But our editors know that that better be on every page.
Right.
And so
you've developed a system that has both automation, data-driven decision-making, as well as
people. Yes.
Which was the basis of Yahoo at the very beginning. I remember when the ontologists were in place, and then they just stopped scaling because you just couldn't. You couldn't have people making all the decisions. You needed to support it with technology. Right. Now, it strikes me that that approach to content is not dissimilar to the approach that the entire advertising ecosystem has been taking for many years to figuring out, cooking a person, you know, creating a behavioral and contextual sort of cloud of data around that person and trying to figure out the right ad to put in front of them, which is a business that you're deeply in, and it's a very competitive business. Is that a fair analogy to how you look at serving up content, and might that go across the web outside of Yahoo as well?
I think it does go across the web. Anybody that's publishing, you publish, Offline publishing wants to put the right information in front of their readers. The difference is the two of us, being 24/7, have to do it fast, we have to do it correctly, and so forth. People all over the web want to do that, but that's a lot of technology, John. I mean, you're a technologist, you understand that. And so you'll reach a point as a mid-sized website or a small website where you just can't scale if you don't have the science. And so one of the reasons that we're interested, another thing we're interested in, is helping an ecosystem. Right now we have the largest ad network. We serve up, about 18 billion ads a day that we're referencing and serving up for not only owned and operated, but for our affiliates.
Right.
That's a lot of technology. And the interesting thing is people want to judge Yahoo. They want to look at a page and say, well, that anybody could, put that page together. It's deciding what goes on that page, having not only our own editorial content, but crowdsourced content, aggregated content, and just interesting everything. That's science. And that doesn't scale with most companies.
So
they're not in that business.
If I carry that forward, does that mean that you will be exporting a service that others can use that will help them take their content corpus and serve it up in a sort of a layer above their CMS, so to speak, that allows them to do what you do on your homepage?
We already do through the exchange.
Well, the exchange is just advertising. I'm talking about content.
Yes. We're also looking at helping people manage their content, helping them, if you will, manage their whole ecosystem. How do they want to manage what are these people crawling around for?
They're all taking pictures of you, Carol.
Okay. I have the Yahoo 15. Anyway. They're interested.
That's like the Google 10, but you have better cafeterias? Never mind.
Of course we do. It is really about, we think that through an ecosystem publishing partnership, we can help people not only with ad optimization, but with their content optimization.
Is this a product now?
No.
But it's something you're considering.
Right.
Because it's a core competency that takes a lot of science and can be exported as a service.
Very core competency.
So you're not announcing Content Sense, but...
Content Sense.
Well, I've actually written about Content Sense, so that was a term that I made up.
Somebody else uses that too.
I can imagine. There's another sense out there.
Yeah.
Actually, let's talk about that other one, Google. I'm curious your view of Google as a company in the ecosystem. You said to me when we spoke last that one of the great challenges of Google was that they had to grow a Yahoo a year. In other words, they are so large now, almost 200 billion in market cap, almost 10x your market cap, that creates a different environment. Is that an environment you aspire to?
Well, of course. I mean, who wouldn't aspire to be Google? But that's not the environment we're in. We're not a Google, we're a Yahoo. And they're a fantastic company. And I think one of the most important things I did the first year, we did as a management team, is to explain to people we're not Google. We are Yahoo. So this constant comparison
was that part of the search decision was you were very much compared to Google because you were considered to be sort of mortal rivals in search?
Yes, but that wasn't why we made the decision. We made the decision because technically and financially it was the smartest thing to do. But it did help the other problem, which is to say, Google is this company and Yahoo's this company. And we know what we stand for. And in fact, it's interesting, John, when you get 30 miles outside of Silicon Valley and, say, 60 miles outside of New York City, everybody knows what we stand for. It's so much fun to travel. I was in India last week and London the week before, and they go, Yahoo! I mean, it's like, they're not confused. They don't ask these trick questions about, what is Yahoo? They actually know.
Well, I don't know that that's a trick question.
Well, it must be, because everybody thinks it's somehow you don't know, so that's kind of the first thing they ask. I am never asked that outside the country or in Iowa.
I want to ask you about Yahoo's approach to social. So you mentioned how you wanted to sort of take these content pages, make them more engaging, use the science that you have, and I have met with Prabhakar, and it is impressive.
Isn't he great?
The science, he is.
Big brain.
The science is impressive of how you determine this stuff. I'm interested in how you then make that stuff come alive in the dimension of social. You have deeply integrated Facebook, and you have recently announced integrations with Zynga and Twitter. That's a strategy, is it not? To say, we're not going to try to do our own, we're going to work with all the others. Or are you reserving the right to at some point create a Yahoo social graph, perhaps through mail, perhaps through understanding those user journeys and connecting other people with similar user journeys through your content?
Social is a word that's been around for a long, long time. We've been social. The cavemen were social. I think the Elizabethans were social. And so the idea that social exists in only one place on the internet or just a couple places, social is about human interaction. And there's different kinds of human interaction. There's the kind that Facebook does, which again, fantastic company. But human interaction is also, email and messenger, as I said, interactive ads, interactive websites. People just want, they might as well sit in front of a newspaper if they're going to sit in front of a static screen. And so there's all kinds of ways to be social. You mentioned games, you mentioned commenting, Twitter, exactly. We're not trying to copy anybody. We're trying to enhance the user experience on Yahoo in a Yahoo fashion, which is, listen, if we, think about this for a minute, John, if we aggregate for people great content, we should also aggregate the experiences they have around the web so that it's in one place for them. Not that they're not going to go someplace, but it's an and proposition. They don't go to Facebook or Yahoo. They go to Facebook and Yahoo. They don't go to Google or Yahoo. They go to Google and Yahoo. Yeah. You can look at the metrics and see that.
Now, one of the things that Facebook is doing, we're talking to Mark in a couple of hours, but that strikes me as a clear play for point of control, is to integrate Facebook Open Graph across the web, such that the sort of default, writer on my left shoulder as I cruise around the web is my Facebook social graph, my Facebook, let's call it, identity.
Right.
Do you have designs on having maybe someone on my right shoulder who is my Yahoo identity?
Well, there's already 630...
Maybe Yahoo Connect or something like that?
Well, there's already 630 million people and still growing that have Yahoo identity. One of the things that the company...
But they don't bring it with them on the web.
Right. One of the things the company should have done a long time ago is accept anybody's login.
Right.
And have 100% login on our pages, not just mail. And that means accepting Facebook login, Google login, whatever it might be. And so that just allows us to play in the ecosystem and also to make life easier for our users. And easier in that they can come onto the site and we know enough, again, to give them a great experience. So I think Facebook is very, very clever in the identity on the left shoulder. But that isn't exclusively their purview. The rest of us have also identities on the people that use us, and that's just increasing because usage on the web is increasing.
But currently there is, as we've discussed, there's so much that you know about somebody because of the content journeys they take on your owned and operated properties, and because of the knowledge that you have as they cruise the rest of the web and encounter your ad networking properties, and what they tell you as they become a Yahoo user and register, and their mail use, and. It strikes me you could create a thing, which is my Yahoo value-added identity, that I can exchange as a token anywhere I go on the web, and it changes how I interact with the web. Is that something you've considered?
We could do that. Right now, a bigger priority for us, John, we have so much data, but it has been siloed in sports and siloed in finance and siloed, just the way the company was. The properties were considered very independent and very special. And unfortunately, that meant the data was very independent and very special.
And your infrastructure was very independent and very special.
Exactly. And so for us to even get our own data in the grid, in the cloud, so that we can use it very quickly means that's one of the first things we do. We can worry about, and of course, cookies going all over the place, but we can worry about the steps you're talking about when we get our own data house in order, which is coming soon. I had a great mail today from my UK office. We announced global news with content on the grid with one publisher tool for the world.
Right.
First code base ever for the world.
I don't think people understand when you came in how significant the legacy baggage of how Yahoo was built was, and that you had to re-engineer that. And it's all that stuff underneath that we don't see.
Yes, I mean, it literally, I use several metaphors, but we're traveling up 101 at 100 miles an hour changing the tires.
Right. We've heard that one.
Oh, yeah. But this was my point I was going to make. I got the first indication from the UK office today that they actually, because of this consistent content in the grid for news all over the world, that they actually were able to pull down like 24-hour round the clock while they were asleep. The American editors were helping their pages. That's never happened in this company. So
I think people just assume that kind of stuff was done.
Yes. You would assume that, because actually they were doing a great job. They just weren't sharing anything,
right.
Which made inefficiencies and duplication and
right.
and all that. And it wasn't sitting here in the U.S. It was even less obvious. As soon as you went to the rest of the world, they were really on their own.
Right. Please come to the microphones, because the time is going far too quickly. I wanted to ask you about talent. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of steam vented about people leaving Yahoo, or maybe perhaps being shown the door. I won't ask which is which, but a lot of senior managers have left. A lot have come, and we have, it strikes me, quite a war for talent going on. Everybody, I mean, Robin Lee told me he was looking to hire engineers to bring back to China. Mm-hmm. Why would an engineer, and Google just gave everybody a 10% raise. Are you going to do that?
No.
You heard that, Yahoo-ites. Sorry, no raise.
Actually,
I tried.
Actually, John, it's 15.
It's 15.
Not really.
Why does a talented engineer come to Yahoo as opposed to going to Facebook with its pre-IPO stock, or Groupon, or Twitter, or Google?
I've been in this valley since 1983. And, number 100 employee at Sun, and on Cisco's board when they were 400 million. I've watched this talent race in this 60-mile circle for 27 years. First of all, you can never beat an IPO if they're given a really interesting job. People really want to make a difference. Engineers want to make a difference. They want to be able to come in and not be just one of 15,000 smart kids. They want to have a really interesting job to do. They want to have the tools to do it. They want to know they can work on big, large data sets and large problems, and we have that. So we don't have an IPO, that's a fact. We have a stock that I think is going to go up. I'm not supposed to say that, but I'm going to.
Well, I'm pretty sure every CEO of a public company believes their stock's going to go up.
Oh, there were many times. No. Since you've never been a CEO of a public company, I can promise you, not every moment does that happen. But there still are a lot of fascinating jobs at Yahoo, and we are hiring every day the people that are very interested in those jobs.
I have to ask you before we go to questions, because this is an opportunity on a public stage for you to quell rumors, but there have been rumors of a private equity buyout. So you wouldn't have to be a public CEO anymore.
I love being a public CEO.
Boy, Write that down. Because that
Put it down.
Yeah, because that's I don't know how many public CEOs would, at least privately, acknowledge that it's just a thrill to deal with analysts and Starbucks and.
Once you understand what the job is, and understand the complexity of the job, does it mean? By the way, do I like every analyst? No. Do I like every employee? No. Do I like my husband every day? No. I mean, do I like myself every day? No. But once you understand the complexity of the job, that's what makes it fascinating. Just like I said, engineers want to come for tough problems, CEOs want to come for tough problems. If it was that easy, frankly, you'd just run around saying they don't need me, and then maybe they won't pay me, and then what happens then?
Right. But you didn't answer the question about the rumors of a private equity buyout.
Oh, I forgot that was the question.
Not something. Are you going to say it's not going to happen? Whatever's best for the shareholders, yada, 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 yada.
Oh, you could be a public CEO. See?
All right, I'll let it go to questions over here.
Yeah, can you hear me? It's Bob Peck, Barron Capital. Actually, along those lines, John, there's been a lot of speculation in the press about potential deals with AOL. One, could you comment on, would there make any strategic or synergistic sense ultimately to have an AOL and Yahoo together? Does that make sense as far as the cost savings and what have you? And number two is China. I think going private would involve China to some degree. What would it take to get rid of Alibaba from Yahoo? What would be the catalyst there if you'd unlock that value? Thanks.
We have no interest in getting rid of Alibaba.
But Alibaba has some interest in getting rid of you.
Did Jack actually say that?
Well, I thought I read that Jack said that, but
Do you believe everything you read?
Not everything.
Do you believe
But I
everything
do
you
bring
write?
it up in front of the people.
Do you believe everything you write?
Absolutely.
Oh, good. Okay, first question. Again, one of the first rules of a public CEO is you can't comment on mergers and acquisitions and all that sort of thing, so I won't. The second thing on Alibaba, Yahoo did a terrific thing in 2005, and that is put $1 billion on Jack Ma and give him the Yahoo brand and let him operate in China. As you guys might recall, Yahoo had gotten in a little trouble in China. Not, by the way, very innocently, but you know how that can happen. And so making that investment and deciding not to operate in China, but giving it to a very, very smart entrepreneur, $1 billion has turned into many billions.
40 or
Many billions. And so the fact of the matter is very, very smart investment, and it's an investment.
But are you getting credit for that in the stock market?
We do, actually. Yeah. I think we'd get more credit if it was a liquid investment. In other words, if and when Alibaba goes public or parts of it go public, just like Alibaba.com, which is a public part of Alibaba Group, went public, and we were able to sell some of our stake in that. But yes, we get credit. And increasingly, by the way, as people are understanding the China landscape more, we're getting credit for our strategic decision to invest in the Chinese internet without the risks.
Right. You got to follow?
Just to clarify the AOL question, it wasn't, are you going to buy AOL? The question was more of, should a deal like that be proposed? Have you thought about the synergies and the cost savings? Could something like that make sense? Or no, it just wouldn't make sense. You really couldn't get the synergies out of it anyway.
It's always easy to do would, should, could, and I won't.
You wouldn't?
Ben Parr of Mashable. So a while ago there were many rumors about Groupon and acquisitions there. You launched a daily deals thing that kind of puts it a bit to rest. So I'm curious a bit about your relationship with Groupon and just in general your acquisition strategy, what kind of companies you're looking for, what you're intending to do in that front.
Well, I hope you knew that this morning we actually announced sort of deal coupon relationships with about 20 companies, Groupon being one of them. So we've put together a group of, we think, winners in various niches of this deal and coupon space, and that's, our deal with Groupon and Gilt and the other folks. What was the other part of the question?
Acquisitions.
Acquisitions. You know, we have 3 strategies around acquisition. One is to get technology and tech talent. One is to get content. We're always interested in mom's content and contents about babies, and because that sells, P&G can buy all of that. And the third is to acquire users, which is what Mektub was about, largest Arabic-speaking site that we acquired about a year ago. So those are our 3 strategies: technology, content, users.
Thank you.
Got one behind.
Carol Ninan-Track of PR Newswire. Could you, 2 questions really around content, associated content and sort of competitive differentiation with demand and seed. And then if you fast forward a number of years out, if you can speak to what you think this type of content generation looks like, and specifically comment on quality of content versus journalistic content.
Yeah. I am so interested in tail content. We all read head content, but what we're really interested in is the tail content. I mean, I read the Menlo Park Almanac to find out who got arrested and who was drunk and, you know, who was doing all this, because it's fun. People like to know what's going on in their community. They like to know what somebody else thinks about how to manage a 3-year-old. Now, you brought up a really good point, and that is, how do you ensure the quality? One of the reasons we were absolutely dead over fascinated with associated content is the technology they have put behind sourcing articles and understanding who the writers are that are getting the traffic, who the writers are that are good writers, and the ones that fall off. And so it was the technology. I mean, obviously crowdsourcing is interesting, but it was the technology is how they managed 400,000 writers. And when you sit through a demonstration of their back end, it's fantastic. It doesn't take away from, and by the way, let's not assume just because it was crowdsourced that it's not, you know, John on sabbatical, who's obviously a good writer and wants to get his name on Yahoo.
I'm not writing it for $50, Carol.
We pay much more than that, especially if you're good.
Oh. Well, let's talk. I think it's a good question, though, because you know, we've got, I think the collective industry here is very curious about how the demand media IPO will fare if and when it clears the SEC. Do you have views on demand media? I mean, they seem to be the leader in this space, you know, in terms of the number of articles, the growth in revenue. They were certainly a larger revenue company than Associated when you bought Associated.
Yeah, they have, you know, as you know, 2 sides of the business, the domain side and the crowdsourced side. I'm actually very happy that Richard is putting a spotlight on what I think is a real viable growth engine for the internet. And that just helps everybody.
We have time for another question here.
Yeah, I'm just curious, what is your strategy, or rather, what are your plans for Yahoo widgets on the connected television? It seems like you're sort of in tons of different platforms, lots of different OEMs have adopted you. I don't see a lot of
Sorry,
ads.
it's hard. It's very, for some reason, questions from over here are hard to understand.
Sorry, Yahoo widgets, your Yahoo widgets platform for connected television. Seems like you've had good adoption. Seems like you are, you know, embedded in a lot of different television sets. What are your plans? I don't see any ads currently. Where are you taking this?
Yahoo Widgets, I actually think was a very interesting thing a small team did for us. And I love, you know, the good news about coming to Yahoo, people might have criticized me saying I didn't have a clue what the internet was, and maybe that's true. But I know software development, and I know how to get things done, and I loved what that widget team did. I also love the fact that business development was hand in hand with them and went to the Sonys and the Panasonics and the Toshibas and so on and so forth. Since then, as you all know, you know, Internet TV or Apple TV or Google TV and everybody's TV, you know, all this is changing. And so one of the things we're looking at is whether just having, you know, an API layer is good enough, or we should think of a different way to work than the widget way. We've got the partnerships, but it's just like mobile. The whole idea around what a large screen means. So we're continuing to push that. We got a great, again, small, young, aggressive team on this. But it could change. I don't know, because the landscape has changed.
I want to wrap very, very quickly with your quick one-word or two-word or phrase, thing that comes to mind. When I say this word, you say whatever comes to mind. Okay? Ready? Apple.
Beatles.
Twitter.
Told you, didn't I?
Twitter.
Tweet.
Microsoft.
Partner.
Facebook.
Competition.
HP.
Where's Leo? Oh, one word.
No, it doesn't have to be one word. It could be a phrase. Google.
Great company. Ha ha ha.
I got that out of her. Well, we're running very long, but Carol, thank you for running long with us.
You're welcome. Thanks, Don.